What makes you different, what makes your business special, who's behind it will matter more than anything.
How do we get past that individual collaboration and use it for more strategic purposes as a team?
The great thing about AI is it doesn't fear blowback, and therefore you can really rigorously debate an idea. It encourages team members to be more vocal and speak up, and also to push back on ideas that could hurt the business.
What do you think will happen to existing businesses?
I see it as being a flatter business structure. I do see it being less hierarchical. Ideas are going to be a new currency. So the best ideas will win out, but we need the human element. As leaders, we do need to move past the hype. Knowing what to do for your specific organization, with your team, with your goals, will actually move the needle.
What do you see are the most exciting ways AI is getting used in business?
So my biggest recommendations for entrepreneurs when it comes to AI tools are...
Georgie Healy, thank you so much for joining us today. You've come to talk to us about all things AI. And so since AI is on everyone's lips at the moment, the question I absolutely have to start with is, what are the biggest productivity gains that leaders can make at a personal level from using AI right now?
Big question to start with, Jess. I love it, though. This is my favorite thing because I think AI in the headlines, frankly, is a lot of fear-mongering, and it's talking about jobs and things like that. And really what it should be is a productivity tool, fundamentally, make your life a bit easier, have like a business partner of sorts. And I think the biggest productivity gains you can have is, if the AI understands your context and you have a key decision to make, it can help you make those decisions a lot faster with a lot more consideration.
So I think a lot of people, I don't know, maybe to speak on behalf of all uninformed AI users like myself, if I may, start using AI perhaps as a note taker. That might be the sort of gateway into AI for a lot of people. Is I'm sick of doing minutes. No one's ever enjoyed doing them. An AI note taker will do that. And then perhaps graduate to synthesizing discussions into proposals, having a discussion and then asking it to spit out a proposal. They're great productivity gains. It's taking away boring work. What more can be done for productivity? What are the really cool things that you've seen people do?
The best by far is a completely different modality to what we're used to, but a very easy one to pick up, which is voice AI. Everyone in the startup space is using Whisperflow, but this is not a tool that's just for the technical and the startup founders. It's a tool for everyone. You literally press the button, say words, and it will transcribe. So if you are on a commute, you can literally whisper into it and respond to emails, answer your mother's message in like quite a long form. And it's a lot easier than typing with your fingers or typing with a keyboard. And it's done with perfect grammar and punctuation. And it's a huge productivity gain.
That's really interesting. So I must admit, I often open up Claude Voice, turn on the voice part and just talk at it as I'm driving to work, trying to organize my thoughts to prepare for a big meeting, or if I'm interviewing a podcast host and I want to get my thinking straight, I'll talk to it. Is that the kind of thing it does? Helps you organize your thinking and take your thought bubble and distill it down into critical points?
Yes, but it's even better than that, Jess, in my perspective, because yes, you can press the microphone within your Claude or within ChatGPT or even within WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger within those tools. But the thing about Whisperflow, which is free, by the way, you can open it up in any place there is a cursor. So in your Gmail drafts, in your WhatsApp messages instead, in your Google Docs, anywhere. And I have been using it when I am going to a tech conference. I will turn it on when there's a keynote speaker and I will just press the button in a Google Docs. And then you can always transfer that where you like into Claude later to distill the information. But I find that it gives you more freedom across all the different platforms you might be on.
That's so fascinating. So helping cut through, not have 5 different tools, but one that can turn up in different places and play the same role. So another total noob question for you. How does someone like you, who really deeply understands the ecosystem of AI and the tools and how it's used in business applications, how do you explain to your non-technical friends or family members what AI is and why there's so much hype about it right now? I think a lot of people are like, is this just another cool tech? There's been lots of cool techs. How do you answer that question?
I feel for people that have been through the metaverse and Oculus glasses, and this is the new thing, and everyone's gonna be on crypto in 3 years, and all the cars are gonna be autonomous, and we've
Blockchain. Don't
heard
forget
all of this stuff.
blockchain.
Blockchain. I get why people feel a bit gaslit, and when they first heard about AI, they're like, "Okay, yeah, we'll see." The good news is that AI is more like the internet, right? It's here, it's staying, it's not going anywhere, and it's gonna completely change the way we do things, but overall for the better and in many delightful ways that it's not gatekeeping for any certain group. My mum's definitely not from the tech world, but she listens to my podcast and often tells me, "Oh, I love ChatGPT. It told me how to get a stain out of this clothing."
And so why has AI hit the world with such a buzz? What's different about this technology that's meant that's happened?
From day one, from the first time you use it, it genuinely can really help you and blow your mind. Like, I think of it, and this is a bit corny, but I remember reading Harry Potter when I was younger and wishing that I would get a letter from Hogwarts saying, "All along, you're a wizard, you're a witch, you're whatever, and you get to go to this school and everything is magic." It's not quite as exciting as going to Hogwarts, but it is really crazy that you can just use these tools and have a thought partner and like, as many businesses will notice, having a legal team or an HR team or a finance team or understanding reports and spreadsheets and data and all like across the business, it's a lot and it's expensive and it's hard. And all of a sudden you've kind of got this business partner that knows everything and can really help you with your goals. And it feels really magical.
Mm. And I want to go into that further in a moment. But before I do, how did you come to be in the position you're in understanding AI? Because you've worked in technology for a while, were you originally exposed to it through work and came at it that way, or you were a consumer first?
Great question. No one's ever asked me that before. I kind of was close to AI when I worked in automotive. When I was in London, I was a tech consultant at McLaren and Ford and Jaguar Land
Yeah,
Rover.
wow.
And I worked closely with like image engineers that were putting sensors on cars that help us with parking and can see things and identify imagery. That's kind of where AI I was first noticing
Mm.
cat or a dog and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Did not unfortunately did not see, the potential of what AI could do now. I think I'd be a very rich woman if I did. But it kind of I was assimilating with real use cases in real life scenarios. And then, when ChatGPT 3 came out, I was like many people thinking, "Is this something or is this, a flash in the pan again?"
Mm.
And now I strongly believe it's not a flash in the
Yeah,
pan.
yeah. So in that vein, what do you see are the most exciting ways AI is getting used in business? Hopefully it's more than just productivity. Productivity is part of it, but what are the other use cases and ways you're seeing it applied and changing businesses' growth trajectories or their opportunities?
It gets you from 0 to 1 so much faster, so much cheaper, and in such a more meaningful way. Like, I've worked with startups for many years in that 0 to 1 stage, and you need money to make money or to launch an app or to share an idea or even to create a website was expensive and hard and relied on a software engineer and relied on these really technical people, part of the vision and part of the story. Really, at the end of the day, businesses rely on customers that want to pay for their product. And the faster and cheaper you can get to that point, even if you're an established business and you want to release a new product or a new, I don't know, demographic of customer that you're trying to cater towards, you can just get there so much faster and in a way that's so much more streamlined.
And with all the people that you've spoken to that have done this, can you give us any specific examples of a process that they might have run differently before AI and the ways AI has helped them?
Yeah, I mean, customer surveys is a big one that still is required, and I don't want anyone to think that like there are memes online of these startup founders that are up all night just on the AI. Give me a unicorn idea, like $1 billion idea. Make no mistakes. Tell me when you're done. Unfortunately, AI probably can't do that because at the end of the day, people want people. People want to purchase from people. AI is a fantastic tool to help you build a website. You can vibe code a website, which basically means you use English to help you create a website that's your vision and share that with your customers so that you can engage with it and give you meaningful data. But at the end of the day, those conversations with customers, you can use AI for transcripts, like you said. Have it join the call, have it pull out some insights from the call, and then just use AI along that process of how you'd always do business, but just in a way where it's captured in a more meaningful and quantitative way.
And you sort of touched a little bit on prototyping, so 0 to 1. So let's think that through. So, I mean, AI wasn't around in the way it is now when I was building my startup, but we had to invest a lot of time and money in getting data scientists and dev shops, frankly, to build out the first version of our UI. And in fact, we actually used an off-the-shelf software to do the visualization rather than build out our own. So when is the right time? Does this mean because AI is around and I could potentially vibe code, I don't even really know what that means, but tell a computer I need it to build me the interface, I should forget getting data scientists and going to a dev shop and going through that product development process with them and could just start with the computer, or I would still bring in the experts but their process is shorter? How would I think about changing what I might have done given the tools we have today?
Great question. My perspective is got the professionals in those fields in these early stages where you're just trying to see if the customer is willing to pull out their wallet and pay for something. If you really, really firmly want some kind of distinction in the market and you're already at the point where you've got the customers and you're trying to create something more niche and unusual and you want to pursue that. Maybe, even then, maybe. I strongly recommend anyone listening to get a Lovable or a Replit subscription for very cheap, I think $30 a month, and build a website for an idea that you've had in your back pocket forever. Anything. It could be a guinea pig breeder website. I don't care what it is. You will see how easy it is to create a beautiful website from scratch. And honestly, if anyone wants to see my website, that's how I did it. And I said, these are my brand colors. This is the message I want to share. And then what I did is I shared the website at the end back with AI and said, get me SEO, make me visible on the internet. What am I missing? What's wrong with this? Help me understand how to make this website better. And it's incredible how far you can get. I'm really proud of my website. If you look at my website and you like it, just know all of that was done with AI.
That's fascinating because the other part of the process of building the first version of something you've never built before isn't even just the technical part of getting it live. It's also, maybe this is just me, but the frictions of working with another team who don't necessarily understand what you want and then giving them 4 rounds of feedback, but you've only paid for 2. And often you might get to a point where you think, oh gosh, I can't be bothered. We'll just go with what they've built. But obviously that's not going to be the case with AI, is it? You can iterate forever.
Jess, I started my business in like an app, which was so full of friction. There's so few people with app qualifications here in Australia, which are different from, website and those like coding skills. And every time I wanted to make a slight editing change on the app, it was so exorbitantly expensive, and it was the blind leading like a team that knew what they were doing. And so for small changes that I could probably do myself in the back end if I knew how, it was just so hard and expensive to do. But you always need to tinker and make little changes as your business grows, as your customers change. Having a team that you're relying on every time you want to do that, the age of AI, you can have so much more ownership in your vision.
And allow you to iterate much, much faster than ever before. I mean, as we're talking about this, I'm also realizing that the incredible technical team I was able to work with when we built our product, because it was so hard to execute, they required me bring a lot more discipline of priority to what I was asking them to do, because if it's going to take 4 months to build, they want to make sure that every one of those things is required. In an AI world where I could really do anything, I probably would have overscoped the thing. So it's a sort of execution overload. That feels like that's probably a phenomenon of today.
I would agree with you. And there is like this thing that I see a lot, which is over engineering. Like you can over engineer things. That's kind of more about you need to almost do it to realize that you've done it kind of thing.
Mm.
And then be like, okay, took it too far,
Yeah.
got it. But that's why I say do it for a project that is not your full-time business. If you have these ideas, like I was speaking to my dad recently, who's, a serial ideas person, but he could never execute every idea, like great ideas and vision, but then who's going to build it? Oh, there's so many things. And now you really could just create a wait list, create the website. Once you've got enough of a wait list, maybe you get venture capital. Maybe you don't get venture capital. Maybe that's not even a path. But if you've got the momentum and you've got the interest, it's really just a matter of having the ideas that now in this time, it's a lot more democratized who can actually build a business. And I find that really special.
It is really empowering, and certainly for people in a position to be able to start out. It's quite a different dynamic though, isn't it, for existing businesses where business leaders have perhaps only been able to be successful because they're very good at delegating and finding the specialists to come and deliver that and that and that. Are you saying that these days the power is in the people that know how to execute? So the people, everyone potentially becoming an executor once again? Because that's a total shift.
It's a total shift. And I do, I think about this stuff a lot, Jess. Like, what will the workforce of the future look like? I do think it will be less of that pyramid structure. I think everyone will have ideas and everyone can prototype those ideas, and A/B testing across engineers, designers, product managers. It will be a lot more merit based on what ideas actually are the ones that get the most traction. And I think it gives people across the business structure more autonomy to build what they want to build. It also means, like, frankly, it is scary for some people that have become experts at their one thing. And, for example, sales teams, perfect at sales, are now needing to get more technical. And engineers that have always been like, I am the software engineer, that's all I identify as in this specific JD description. Now we're asking you to come up with like ideas and original thoughts as well as doing that stuff. And so I think everyone's going to have to, be a little bit more original in their thinking, because the other stuff will be table stakes.
You're putting on the table that a culture of experimentation is what's possible. And so this maybe raises the question, is there limited culture of experimentation in some teams only because it's hard to execute, or because those people prefer not to experiment? I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people that would never have wanted to do that, but maybe they'd be excited because it's accessible now, or maybe they still don't want to do it and they'll get left behind.
I've seen all sorts, Jess, and I'm sure you have too. I was a consultant for a period, and some people started as wanting to do and share their ideas for the business. And after years of it being too hard, or that's not what we're going for at the moment, and then they get disenfranchised and then they stop coming up with ideas. I've seen that happen. And I've also seen some businesses that are very legacy and they got their job straight out of uni and they've been in it forever and it's very safe and people don't like change. And there's a bit of a reticence to use AI because change is scary for all of us, myself included. Like it is hard, but I think either way, it's a muscle that we can all learn. And I would push back that it's more delightful and fun than it sounds like when you just simply read the headlines about how disruptive it is. I think it's fun as well to try and play with your ideas and see what you can build.
Yeah, well, I've certainly been doing a lot of playing and building, and I've had a huge number of AI fails, like quite hilarious AI fails. But this podcast is not about my AI fails, luckily. What do you think the biggest things people commonly think AI can do that it actually isn't good for?
It's really wild to see people in the coalface of innovation in the industry using AI in such a fail way. And often it's on a very public platform like LinkedIn, they're using AI to write their posts.
Oh.
I get, that it can sound very convincing, but what it reads as is either A, I'm not confident in my own thoughts, and so I needed AI to write this for me, or B, really lazy. Neither of those things you want, right? Do not use AI to write your thought leadership or your position for the business. People that can spot AI a mile away immediately think cringe, yuck, hate it. Why are you doing that? And people that don't, it just doesn't help you cut through because AI at the end of the day is an algorithm of averages. You're not going to be unique. You're not going to show up differently. And frankly, I'll admit it would make my life a lot easier if I could use AI to write my Substack or write my podcast questions. I could, and it would be shorter and easier and I'd have a lot more free time, but then I'd also lose my entire audience and no one would ever read or listen ever again. So it's kind of pointless.
So do you think that customers are less likely to want to pay for a product or service if they know that AI was used in the creation of the service itself or the customer experience of that?
Great question. Unfortunately, yes. I think people will think, well, what am I paying for if I could just use my own AI subscription to generate that response? I actually was in this scenario recently, Jess, where I hired someone and they gave me AI outputs. And I was like, oh, I hired you because of your decade of experience in that certain field. Maybe I just use AI if you're just using AI. That did happen.
That's super interesting. Did they admit it when you brought it up?
It was so obvious. It was so obvious. Like the telltale M dash is
Oh God.
obvious. The way it was just so clear and unfortunately or fortunately, I hope they learnt the lesson, but it was like, you've made it clear that, this is not something that needs me to pay a premium on.
And so in a context like that, should businesses be disclosing, we do this as original thought, but AI helps us summarize the report? Or because it could be the case that the humans have done all the thinking, all the brainstorming, all the hard bit, and the AI has just formatted the document and it looks like an AI thing, but it actually was mostly human, versus the other way around where a human rewrites an AI's thinking.
Oh, and that can happen. Like, for example, I will write my entire newsletter, but I feed it through AI because, attention to detail, there'll be a missing full stop or things like that. But if I copy paste whatever that is back in, it'll look like the whole thing was done by AI, and things can happen like that. It depends on the task, right? If what it was, which is my scenario of reaching out to clients and partnerships, and really it's all me and all I need you to do is do that hand across and then it's AI, it's like, I guess I could just use AI to do that. But if it's something where it's strategy or, a short-term event or mission or experiment or something like that, where you really need the ideas and then they collate it in AI and use things like that, kind of doesn't matter the format. But it really does matter if the final outcome and what gets shown in front of the customer looks like AI. You would need to disclose the thinking is what you're paying for, and the thinking is what you are getting, and that is the partnership that we're having. The output or the way it's transferred might have AI elements to it.
Mm. And what about the complexity of other tasks? What is it? Is there anything? I do have a particular example in my mind that maybe I'll bring up, but what about the other tasks? Are there things that are just too complex for AI that we shouldn't be putting to it? Writing proposals, synthesizing complex group discussions. Is it not there yet for some stuff, or it really, if well prompted, can actually tackle complexity?
A year ago, AI agents were the hottest marketing buzzword, and everyone was using agents. We're all using a team of agents, a swarm of agents. My entire team is agents. False, fake news. That was not happening. Frankly, it still kind of isn't happening. And agents are essentially a series of AI steps, for anyone that's not familiar. So instead of just prompt or question and AI output, it was, I'm going to go to this website by myself, and then the AI would go over here to check out, and then it would know your address and do a multi-step prompt. That's still emerging, and I would say that we're not quite there yet, most of us, but that will be coming, and that will be here, and that will be exciting for people that want to book a restaurant or want to book a flight and want it to be the best possible offer and wait till the price is under this value before you do it. That's emerging, that's coming. And in terms of actual prompts, I think give it a go. You don't have to publish anything, but I interviewed someone at Anthropic, which is one of the biggest AI companies in the world, my favorite AI company in the world. And they said you should be trying to use it at its full potential. Like, try and get it to analyze an income statement for you. Try and get it to do these tasks that it couldn't do a year ago for you. You might be surprised.
And do you think professionals using AI, are thinking of it primarily as a personal tool for them to help them get organized, like they might choose the right type of phone for them to have, or personal devices and a personal tool, or they're seeing it more as a business system that their organization delegates to them and teaches them how to use? Because it could be either, right? But what are you seeing happening?
I'm seeing both. I'm seeing at some establishments where they are required to use a certain AI tool. For example, Microsoft Copilot. For safety reasons and client data, a lot of consultancies use that. It's safe, it's structured, the data stays safely in a box. But then employees that don't need to use that are using whatever their preferred tool of choice is. Is it Google's Gemini? Is it OpenAI's ChatGPT? Is it Anthropic's Claude? So these are all the different tools. Frankly, if your company is using an AI tool that you think isn't great, I strongly recommend with your private personal laptop to have a $30 a month subscription. That is worth you staying on top of AI and using that in your personal life. I really strongly recommend you ride the AI wave as it's coming. Use it to improve the way you book travel, the way you choose how to manage your calendar, the way you, I don't know, choose TV shows for the week based on other shows that you like.
Oh.
Use AI in your personal life if it's not being used at your company, and you won't find it as big a friction one day if you do want to use it in your business.
And it does strike me as you're saying that perhaps people have a feeling of more success with personal AI use because the context window is more controlled, right? So let's explain to the listeners what that means and why that matters.
So essentially, if you're using it in your personal life, there's two things. Number one is, the risk of failure is a lot lower if it picks a bad Netflix show than you use it and you use it on a public platform and you've used AI to write your thought leadership or your speech and everyone. I actually had this happen recently. I was at an event and I was sitting beside someone and we were listening to the person on stage deliver a speech, and we both looked at each other because it was so clearly AI.
Oh, no.
It was so hard to listen to because this is a successful person in the tech industry, and it, like, to my point earlier, it reads as not confident enough to write your own thoughts, and don't do that. But if you use it in your personal life, there's lower risk. You're getting familiar with the tool. But also, like, context window is essentially how much previous assumed knowledge the AI algorithm has based on the conversation you're having. And so, you can put a lot more of these are my goals, this is my vision, this is my idea, and you're not putting secret source company information in there, which is really important.
And what I've seen happen that can really derail people's use of AI in the workplace is that they make the mistake of setting it up on their system and then just putting the entire history of the company's documentation into the context window, 90% of which is actually superseded and not relevant to today's operations. And that's not really going to happen on your phone, is it? If you're asking it to help you figure out Netflix in a personal sense, you sort of can't overload it with the wrong context. But in a business use, making sure it's drawing the right assumptions from the right pieces of background knowledge is a data architecture challenge before you even plug in the AI.
This kind of setting up your AI for success, there's a million substacks around, how to do it best and how to have it talk back to you in a voice that works for you. Some people like a formal voice. Some people prefer a more conversational because that's what's going to be more meaningful to them at work, right? But the setting up of the context of what you give AI is really important because otherwise it will just use the entire internet boiled down and give a generic response, assuming you are whatever that average is. And if you want to really stand out as a business, if you really want to compete as a business, you do not want the boiled down average, right? Because that doesn't make you competitive. So a certain sense of sharing your goals and your vision for your business and what you believe will get you ahead and telling the AI that, and then asking it a specific question around, so how do I approach this? How do I reach out to this type of customer? How do I show up online? Here's my LinkedIn page. Do I have the right qualifications for this? That's really helpful, getting more specific.
Another mistake or sort of conundrum we see people walking into is that they might dabble with AI in their business to help them generate, from all of their documents, give me my vision, give me my, summarize my audience persona, etc. But then they feed those same documents back into their AI as the context window and there hasn't been their original thinking in there at all. It's sort of AI feeding off AI. That feels like an easy mistake a lot of people are making, kind of like LinkedIn, where everyone's AI is talking to everyone else's AI on LinkedIn. Is anyone really on LinkedIn?
It's a mess. It's a mess. But yeah, and honestly, like, these are fair enough mistakes to make. But yeah, like, it is, generate a report for me, and then you feed that same report back in, and it's like a closed loop system with no oxygen. But to keep it fresh and to give a real lived example, I have a Substack newsletter and it grows over time. And, it might be a mix of 50% men, 50% women today, but that may shift over time as it grows. And so if I'm still catering to everyone, and actually now that number's 80-20, I'm going to be losing people along the way, or I'm not going to be really targeting people along the way. So yes, great point, Jess. You do need to continuously feed the most recent accurate vision of where you're at, as well as maybe like the year to date results, and just see if that's shifting or moving, or test some experiments. Say to AI, I don't know whether to go with this path or this path. Help me figure out that experiment and then work with me as we do it. And it will prompt you, what's this month's results? Oh, that one seems to be working better than that one. It's really great at that kind of stuff.
So in a world where we're using our AI, we're collaborating with our AI, using it as a thinking partner in these ways, where does our team fit in? Is it possible to use AI in a team context like that, or should we individually brainstorm and then come together? If each team member's collaborating with their AI, don't we risk not collaborating with each other? How do you think about that, the role of the team in the context where AI might be better at it?
I actually spoke to a podcast guest about this because they're head of Gen AI for a very large bank. And yeah, like, how do you all work within a team if you are all using AI? And yeah, it was the exact question I had. Do you have different prompts? Is there a different way you do this? And ultimately, I think everyone has their own terminal, has their own way of approaching AI, way of like, it's like the way I Google search and interact with the internet might be slightly different to you, Jess. We might share similar links. Have you seen this website? Have you seen this person and this thought leadership? And so they're all in a Slack channel, and that's how they share. This is what I found. This is what my report generated. Oh, really? Because I was A/B testing this experiment and this is what I got. And so it's very much like the new internet in many ways. We've all got our own interactions, but we share what we find as a team.
So, in a context where teams are using AI, like we've just said, individually to expand my own thinking about something and then coming together as a team and everybody's got their different way of using it, how do we get past that individual collaboration and use it for more strategic purposes as a team?
Yeah, I don't know if you've worked in a team where everyone gets along beautifully and we've all got different roles, but ultimately, some people have ideas that you think will not work, but you just don't feel comfortable slamming their idea down, right? You feel like, it might have merit to it, but I see this as not the best
So, you
approach.
get your AI to
And
do
I'm
it, to tell them
yeah,
their idea is bad.
right. Like, not me, but devil's advocate here. This would happen, and this is the data that speaks to this, and it's just the AI, it's not me. But it is important to have that from an individual, but definitely as a
Mm,
team structure, because groupthink can run
yeah.
riot. There can be political reasons why certain things get
Power
promoted, and we
struggles.
all know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all seen it, right? Where you're like, I can't believe we've all seen it in the news even, like, I can't believe no one pushed back on that idea before it went live, and you're like, I bet there were people at that company that saw this
And
coming.
probably the flip side too, that there are people in a team who had a great idea but couldn't articulate it well enough. That if they're not as bold or articulate as other people around the table, their ideas don't get the airtime. But if they're coming through, if you're using an AI system to help collaborate, that's equalized too.
Fantastic point. And, like, to play political, you've got the receipts of, like, I did come up with this idea and this did happen, and it encourages team members to be more vocal and speak up, which only benefits the company, right? You want people to feel incentivized to bring up their fantastic ideas and also to push back on ideas that could hurt the business.
And use AI potentially to figure out why that idea is not sitting well with them. If I've heard something from a colleague and I don't necessarily know why I don't agree with it, I could, to your point, put some of those questions back into the AI and let it help me think it through and figure out, am I just triggered because I don't like them, or is it actually an idea that isn't as strong as the other ones?
Not that that would ever
No,
happen.
no.
Actually, even more rigorous than that, Jess, like, this is all very qualitative that we're talking about, but you can use AI to be like, what is the data that exists to reinforce this? And what is the data that exists to push back on this? And I use this all the
Mm.
time. Is there any scientific research on this? I have a gut feel that, this is a pattern that's happening because I'm seeing it in my own circles. But, I didn't think Trump would be elected. I didn't see Brexit coming because the circles I was in, that was not happening. But if I actually had AI back in the day and you looked at the data, it probably would have been a little bit clearer what the actual reality is.
And that's quite different to just letting AI be the everyday sycophant that it can be, where it tells you all your ideas are great. Get it to show you the references and the data.
Yes.
I'm sure you've got many, but I am dying to ask you while we're talking and hearing about all your perspectives, what are your favorite AI hacks right now? Like, what are the latest things you've stumbled across you mentioned using it to find new shows to watch. That immediately struck a chord with me. Not business related, but I bet you've got lots. What are the coolest things you've seen AI do lately?
I love using it, and, like, this is a spicy answer, but I like asking it questions I'm not comfortable asking a human. The things where I'm like,
Do you
I
chat,
genuinely
like
care.
type, or do you
Yeah.
actually use the voice one to have like a real back and forth?
I do both, but increasingly voice mode. It's one of those things where the more you use it, the more you think, "Have I been typing just because that's the only method that's been available so far?" But yes, I ask my spicier questions of like things I wouldn't ask friends about or work because I feel like it's boring to them or annoying to them, or like it can be anything. Like I'm weirdly into medieval times, and I could be like, so tell me more about it, and no one cares about Eleanor of Aquitaine, but I care, and so I can go on these full things, and how do I redesign my podcast studio to look like that? Stuff like that. You have almost like a kindred spirit in AI, believe it or not, in your weirdest, quirkiest personality.
I love it. It's fantastic. So, the question I want to come to, which is such a cliche for the end of a conversation about AI, but I'd love your perspective on this. So, AI has come in, you know, hot and fast into the world and really almost changed everything in only a couple of years. When you fast forward 10 years and think about what the world will be like then, what do you predict? What will business look like? Will it be just kind of like it is now, but with a bit more AI, just like internet came in and there's a bit more connectivity? Or is it going to look vastly different? How do you foresee the future?
I see it as being a flatter business structure. I do see it being less hierarchical. I think, ideas are going to be a new currency because you can build with ease and a lot cheaper. So the best ideas will win out, which is fantastic democratization, right? Your business can evolve and adapt and continue to show up, and it'll be about the best ideas, not the best hires or, grandfathered in approach, right? Which is brilliant. I also see it being, in 10 years, a lot more stable. At the moment, it's a bit frantic. We're not sure what to do with uni students that don't have lived knowledge and learnt the hard way and now are adapting to this AI world. Like me as a millennial, I've done it both ways. And I think it'll be a lot calmer then. We'll know exactly how to onboard and what different people bring to the role and where AI is useful and where AI isn't. I think things will have calmed down a little bit, and it is a bit frantic right now, and that's okay.
Let's hope so. Let's hope it's calmed down, right? If we're still having conversations like this about AI in 10 years. I mean, you and I will have a great following, but the world.
Like, wow, that's a long time to be talking about AI on a
That's
podcast.
right. I might be sick of it by then. I'm not going to lie.
Yep.
And so, in a context, because I can see that that would be the case, that if it's easier than ever to execute any idea, right? So, imagine the people that can solve things. Phenomenal, amazing, egalitarian way that people can access business and change. What do you think will happen to existing businesses? At the moment, a lot of organisations are seeing the productivity gains of AI as a chance to reduce headcount. Does that mean those existing businesses with legacy systems and problems evolve the way they work to allow more new ideas to happen so they feel like very differently structured organisations? Or over time, those businesses will kind of wind down and a whole series of new smaller ones rise up? Like, what do you think? How does the current world become the future world?
This is the big investor question, and this is, why the stock market's been a little frantic and up and down, and the SaaS apocalypse of, businesses that were software engineering and places like that, which the moat was just being there first and having that IP was all that mattered. Look, if I get this right, I feel like I deserve, like, the Order of Australia. It will be smaller businesses. I don't see the large enterprise businesses being the winner take all place that we have now. And I see people using people relationships as a way they make decisions on who to choose. In a world where, Jess, you can make a product and I can make a product and they both look fantastic because AI helped us get there. End of the day, I'm choosing Georgie or Jess because both products are great. Both products do the same thing? Do I want to work with Georgie or do I want to work with Jess? And that's what I see
Oh,
the
wow.
future world.
Well, we can't end on that. And so it sounds like
We'll
then
work together, so it's fine.
perfect.
That doesn't count.
Perfect. So it sounds like then the business leaders that have the biggest opportunity right now perhaps are the small ones, the ones that don't have the legacy product and structure and have the ability to flex and take up the benefits of AI.
Or
Great.
say you're a large business, but you have no social media presence, you have no connection with your customers, but now you build your profile. Now you start showing up with your thought leadership. Now you start having a real presence online. I don't care if it's LinkedIn or Twitter or the like, or you're actually on YouTube. When customers see you and they believe in you, I don't actually think it matters if you're a huge legacy company currently or a small emerging business. People like you as a person. If you're behind, all it, like you don't have any kind of profile online, why would I choose you?
It's interesting because that's almost a paradox, isn't it? That in a world where we can have an AI system create your keynote speech and your LinkedIn post and your Substack as easier than ever, in that world, actually, the winner will be the one that is the most authentic and able to bring themselves to the table.
Yeah, I think there'll be a return to craft in a personality sense. I only know of this in like a furniture sense, but in the Industrial Revolution, when, washing machines and all these things were making things more automated and easier, there was the Art Nouveau period where handcrafted and human made features in wood and in homes and in design became the currency because people were like, I want to see the human element in this. And I realize I'm someone that's a huge proponent and advocate of AI. I'm also human first. And I think that you can do both. You can leverage AI for the stuff that is creating things faster and cheaper and to a high quality, but we need the human element. What makes you different, what makes your business special, who's behind it will matter more than anything.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So let's leave it there. Thank you so much, Georgie. AI expert, AI podcast host, and also lover of all things medieval. I love that I've said all that in the same sentence. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure, Jess. Thank you.